House of Cards, from Battletech Field Manual, Federated Suns, written by Christoffer Trossen and Chris Hatford, read by Shrapnel. Radcliffe, Kathil Capellan March, Federated Commonwealth, 0248 local time, 1820 TST, 16 November 3062. Cap Flight 4825, this is Badger 320. We have concentrated Red Fox activity 850 mics due north of our position, grid Z37, request special inspection.
Roger 320, stand by for inspection. 2 Vipers inbound, ETA 45 seconds.
Lieutenant Colonel Damian Zibbler could barely make out the acknowledgement of his request over the din of the battle. Off to his right, a lance of Jaeger mechs churned out at steady hail projectiles into the midst of an enemy formation, their tracers eerily lighting the pall of smoke hanging over the battlefield. A lightning bolt suddenly lashed out from one of the Jaeger mechs, briefly illuminating the scene of destruction as it slammed into a Zeus, showering the enemy group with sparks. Zibbler watched flames erupt from the massive battle mech's torso, soon engulfing the entire machine as its ammunition bins cooked off. Behind him, he heard a succession of sonic booms, followed by the unmistakable spark crunch of the hypersonic nickeled slugs fired from his Alcorns slamming into the already beleaguered groups. They won't last long against this fusillade. He quickly turned his attention back towards the hills ahead of him, and the 2 companies of fresh battle mechs approaching his battered battalion. If those fast movers don't do something soon, we're history. He made the mistake of glancing at a secondary monitor, which showed him just how bad off his victor was. Armor had been breached in almost every location, and he didn't need his computers to tell him his reactor shielding was barely maintaining containment. Unfortunately, he knew the rest of his battalion was faring little better. How the hell did we get ourselves into this mess? Catherine Steiner, that's how! Already, the 2 companies belonging to the 8th FedCom RCT, codenamed Red Fox Group, were approaching attack range, and Zibbler's air support was still some 30 long seconds away. Badger Battalion, fall back to position Echo. As the remainder of his battalion began to retreat, weapons fire lit up the advancing line. Zibbler unconsciously braced in his command couch, dropping his crosshairs over the silhouette of an approaching salamander. Jim went. He was a royal ass at the academy, but damn it, how did this happen? He squeezed the firing stud before he even realized what he was doing. The thunder of his Gauss rifle further adding to the cacophony of the battlefield. An instant before his own mech was engulfed in a ball of fire. He felt more than a dozen missile impacts send chunks of armor and Myanmar flying, while 4 times that many exploded around him. He's trying to take this out on me. Is that entire unit full of lunatics? Ordered to relocate to Halloran 5, the 8th RCT had instead launched a surprise attack on the Kathil CMM, claiming to be enforcing Archon Catherine's rightful rule over Kathil. Zibbler's was one of the first militia forces hot scrambled to intercept the 8th's advance towards Radcliffe. 4 of his mechs were on the ground, unmoving. 2 others and a tank rapidly were being consumed in a hail of missile explosions. A few more had simply broken formation and fled. I don't blame them. In a stand-up fight, we're a match for the 8th. Ambushed like this though? Ugh. Swiftly closing the distance, the 8th's mechs began scoring more hits upon Zibbler's rapidly thinning ranks. He punched down on his firing stud again, and again, and yet again, loosing a hypersonic slug each time into the enemy advance. The enemy. I graduated with him. He unconsciously stopped his own retreat, standing his ground astride a demolished mansion. How did it come to this? No more! Beside him, one of his Jaeger mechs erupted into a ball of fire. He stabbed down one more time on the firing stud, smashing shards of armor from the torso of Went's salamander, before the paired lasers of an 8th FC penetrator severed the mangled remains of his own victor's right leg, sending him crashing to the ground. Barely aware of the alarms warning him of the reactor's rapidly degenerating magnetic bottle, Lieutenant Colonel Zibbler watched as the entire enemy advance burst into the telltale wall of flame that only an incendiary bomb could produce. The 2 militia corsairs climbed away on their own tongues of blue flame. The center of the advance, once occupied by Went's salamander, spit forth only a staccato of debris. In that moment, the heat within the cockpit became so searing that Lieutenant Colonel Damian Zibbler no longer felt a thing. No more. Greetings, Mech Jocks, Shrapnel here, coming at you with a short story as I'm working on something big in the background which will hopefully be ready really soon. People mentioned they'd like to hear more FedCom stuff, so only happy to oblige. This story was good for several reasons. One, just Mech on Mech pure action, despair and everything, but most importantly, Gauss rifles. The sweetest sound in Battletech with possibly one of the best weapons. PBCs come a very close second, but Gauss rifles win it for me, don't you think? Well, I hope you enjoyed this short story, and as ever, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon if you want to get notifications of new stories. If you want to help out and support the channel, you can visit the Patreon, or throw some change in the jar with Ko-Fi. Links are in the comment below. Until next time, Mech Jocks, I've been Shrapnel, and I'll catch you on the other side. Bye!